we begin the second book of the Torah. And we read in the Torah about Moshe Rabbeinu, his early years, the early years of Moshe Rabbeinu. And I think it's important to analyze some of the things that he gets up to, because I think we analyze who he was, the man. And by the way, it's really important to know, and a man from the house of Levi goes and takes a woman from the house of Levi. Oh no, Leigh, I hope I don't take you to our Torah. The most important thing is, he's a son of man. We don't have a God figure. That's not what we're into. Ah, okay, I've said it. I didn't know you were going to say that.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
Okay, we don't have it. That's the first thing that we learn. But you know what? He goes out on the first day and he saw an Egyptian smiting an Israelite. You're not saying this, are you? Are you saying this?
No.
Okay, good. Baruch Hashem. So he can get away with it. But Yifen Kol Vakol, he turns this way and that way. He turns this way and that way. Vayaki Einish, and he saw there was no man. Vayachetz al Mitzri, and he smote the Egyptian. Vayitmanehu Bachol, and he hid him in the sand. So it's quite interesting. We read about this early thing about Moshe Rabbeinu, the young Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayaki Einish, and what is meant by these words? He saw there was no man. It's quite interesting. He saw there was no man. So the first explanation, which I'd like to suggest, is Vayaki Einish kifishuto. Like, its simple explanation is that he saw that there was no one around to witness his deed. He saw that there was no one to see what was happening. He saw it was safe. He saw that there was no one to see it, and he smote the Egyptian. That's the first explanation. But then there's Rashi's explanation number 2, second explanation. Vaya ki einish. This is his explanation. He saw there was no man. Moshe looked into the future. He looked into the future. Isn't that interesting? And he saw einish. There was no man of promise and prominence that would be a descendant of this Egyptian. So he smote him and he hid him into the sand. But this is the interpretation I love, which is the third interpretation, and this is the one which I think we should take with us. He says, he saw there was no man. He turned this way and that way, saw there was no man. He saw there was nobody man enough to do anything about the injustice that he was about to see, that was taking place. Yet there was no man, there was no human being who was ready to stand up for righteousness, for goodness, and for justice. And there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot which says the problem, which says the following. And it's such a fundamental Mishnah, and I think it's important for us to recognize as Jews, because we look towards Moshe Rabbeinu to get the message. B'makom she'ein ish, ishtadel liot ish, where there is nobody to stand up for an injustice, for something that is wrong, we have to be the man. B'makom she'ein ish, in the place that there is no man, ishtadel liot ish, be the human being. Be the person. So we learned this from the early life of Moshe Rabbeinu. We see injustices in society. We see things that are being done wrong. You see corruption. We dare not be silent. They were silent in Germany. We mustn't be silent. Ishtadel liotish. Be the man. Be the person. Be the man. By the way, that's talking in that particular context. Be the person to stand up. The person, man or woman, to stand up to injustice. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Over to you, Leigh.
Thank you, Rabbi, for nearly ruining.
I didn't. Okay, I'm going to spotlight you. There we are.
All right. Good evening, everyone. In the book of Bereshit, one of the most common things that occurs all the way through is this idea of somebody begetting somebody else and somebody giving birth to somebody else. The whole of Bereshit, there is so much of who is whose father and who is whose son. It's building up the genealogy so that nothing is missed. And we come from Adam through to Abraham, and then Yitzchak and Yaakov and the 12 sons. Everything is in detail. We know who everybody is. It builds by the time we get to the end of Bereshit. like a royal family. They are a special family. Abraham's descendants are special. They're known, their fame, their fortune reaches far beyond the borders of where they live. And that's really how the book closes. But now we start the book of Shamot. And it starts with the fact that Eile Shemos B'nai Israel, these are the names of the children of Israel. And it just lists the names very briefly, and then goes on to say that Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation die, and a new king arises. But the beginning of chapter 2 says, Vayelech ish mibeis Levi, and a man went from the house of Levi, Vayikach es bas Levi, and he takes a daughter from Levi, V'taher ha'isha, and the woman conceives, V'teled bain, and she gives birth to a son. We now start the story of Moshe Rabbeinu, but here we are not told who his parents are. Not at this point. We're only told later. Why is it at this point that Moshe, his parents, where the lineage has been so important all the way through Bereshis, and we come to this point and it's not given? The commentators give a number of different reasons. One is that Amram and Yocheved, who are named later in chapter 6, verse 20 in Exodus, say that they divorced and then remarried by divine inspiration, so they could conceive and give birth to Moses. Other ideas are that the relationship between Amram and Yocheved is such that once the Torah is given, it's not an allowed relationship, because I think it's uncle and niece. So they're too close. They may be the reasons, but I was looking at it in a different way. Moshe is not part of the royal family. The generations have gone past. Lots of things have happened. He remains unnamed. He gets this message. Things happen. His destiny unfolds in front of him, which he doesn't turn away from, but he allows the things to happen. He goes on and does the things. He becomes the greatest of leaders, the greatest of prophets. He sets the tone. He's the man who talks to God face to face. And yet we don't know his parentage at this point in time. He's Moshe ben whoever, rather than being Moshe ben Amram Halevi. So what is this telling us? It doesn't matter. What it's telling us, as I see it, is it doesn't matter who you are, what your roots are, where you come from. When you have the opportunity to do something for the people, to do something for community, then you do not turn away from it. That you should rise to take notice and stand out. During this pandemic, Kenton has risen above everything. It has done all it could do, not just with services, not just with making sure those that are needy in our community, that the contact is kept, that they have food, that their shopping is done. But we've gone to the wider community with food for the frontline workers, people still doing visits, people phoning, people making sure. It's not just to do with Judaism. There are people who volunteer within the wider community, giving advice to other people in the area, doing all these things, standing up to be counted. And people don't know their names. We don't know their backgrounds, but they have not turned away from the challenge. With all the talks and the quizzes and the services and all the things that we have, many, many people have stood up in this community to be counted, to do what is best, to do what is right. They have not turned aside. They have fulfilled, if you like, they have fulfilled their destiny. And that is the message from Moshe Rabbeinu's birth. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter who your parents were. It's up to you to make a difference. And we all have that opportunity. And thank God, us and many people here in Kenton have done exactly that. God bless you all. Thank you for listening. Merry Shabbos. Rabbi Black, you're muted still.
Yeah, I like that, Merry Shabbos. I like that. So that's an interesting one. Okay, I don't know if we should be saying that, but I want to just say in a quick word what you just saying. We create our own yichus. It doesn't matter where you come from. We create our own yichus by what we do. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful message. Thank you so, so much. And that is an everlasting message, which we get from this week's center. So thank you very, very much. And I really, really appreciate always your Divrei Torah are so special and shkoyach to you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. We're now going to go on to our next part, which is Kabbalat Shabbat. And unfortunately, you just have me to this week. So you'll just have to put up with that. Let's go on to our our PDF online. You can see on Yedid Nefesh, and it's in the book wherever it is. I hope you can all see. Let me just reduce it slightly. That's good. And let me also get my video panel, which is over here. So that little thing that you see me putting over there now on the bottom is a video panel. Okay, and I'm going to start with our traditional Yedid Nefesh, which we do every single week. We do this in shul as well. And I just want to say Yedid Nefesh, beautiful, beautiful Zema, which actually some people have the custom of actually reciting not just Erev Shabbat, but also at Suda Shlishit. And funny enough, when Elazar Hazikri actually composed this particular beautiful, beautiful Zema song, hymn, he didn't actually make it for Shabbat at all. But I think because we have the time on Shabbat, we sing it, and it talks about our relationship with Hashem. And Hashem is actually written in here because you've got the Yud Hey, which I've just pointed to, Yud Hey, which are the verses, Yud Hey, and the Vav Hey, which makes Hashem's name, the Yud Hey, Vav Hey, the Tetragrammaton. So it's actually written his name, Hashem's name, in this beautiful hymn. And it compares us and the soul, the yearning of the soul for Hashem. I just think it's so beautiful. So I'm going to start. Yedid nefesh av harachamon mishor chavdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kamo ayal yishtachave el mul hadalecha yerav lo Yedidotecha minofetzuf v'chol to'am. Now notice that particular one. It talks about beloved of the soul, father of compassion. We are his children, and he is our father. But it compares our soul running towards him like a deer. Will your servant run? I think it's beautiful. Next one. Hador, the hay. Adonai ziv haolam nafshicho lazavosecho ono elena refana la behados la noam zivecha os tis chazek v'sis rapeh V'hayesala simcha solom. Our love towards Hashem is so much that our soul is sick with love for you. In fact, the Rambam, Maimonides, actually says in Hilchos Teshuvah that is our level of the Avas Hashem, the love of Hashem that we should come. That we're in love with Hashem, and that is actually the idea. Our soul is sick for the fact that we want to get close to him. Osik Yehemuna the Vav Rachamecha V'chusana Al Beinahu Vecha Ki Ze Kama Nichsof Niftzavti Lidos Besiferes Uzecha Ein Lechamda Chamda libi v'chusana v'alti salam. But that one is speaking about have pity on your beloved child. Once again, we come back to that simile or that metaphor of Hashem being the father and we being the child. Come up to the hay. Higalena ופלויס חביבי עלי, את סוכת שלומך. תהי ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מה אהוב כי במועד, וחננו כי ימי עולם. Mama, 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 ya ya nai nai nai, mama, 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 ya ya, mama, 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 ya ya nai nai nai, mama, 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 ya ya. Ya 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 na 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 na. Didi ya ma 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 ma. Didi ya ma 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 ma. Didi ya ma 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 ma. Didi ya ma ma ma. Didi ya ma ma ma. Didi ya ma ma ma. Ya ya da da da. Didi ya ma ma ma. Didi ya ma ma ma. Didi ya ma ma ma. Ya ya. You notice that a lot of our nigunim, our songs, they don't actually have any words. That's an example of that. We've just gone through this beautiful hymn describing our relationship with Hashem, and sometimes words are insufficient, and that's why we go into the nigun without words. And that's why the nigun is the pen of the soul. It describes exactly how we're feeling in our relationship with Hashem on this Erev Shabbat, this yearning to be close to Hashem in that respect. I think it's beautiful. Now we can continue with Kabbalat Shabbat. If you can follow me on here, or you can follow in the Siddur. Notice there are 6 psalms that we proceed with for Kabbalat Shabbat, 6 psalms corresponding with the 6 days of the week, and then we come to Lechadodi, which is of course just before Shabbat, which is beautiful. Let's go with Lechuna Ranana. Lechuna Ranana, Ladoinai, Noria, Letzo Yishenu, Nekat Mafanav, Basoyada, Pismiros, Nari Aloi, Kiagadol Adonai, Omelech Adola Kol Melechim Mashebiata Mechikele Oretz, Vesafa Samim Loi, Asher Lo Hayam Behu Asahu, Viabeshi Yadzav Yadzaru Bo Ishakove, Venichra Al Niftacha Lifnei Adonai Senikiu Elohim Vanachla Amavisa, Vetzon Yado Hayom, Im Bekado Sishma'u, Al Takshu Levavichem Kimeriva Kiyom Asar Pamipa, Asher Nisi Avesech Mechanuni Kamo Ufa'ali, Aber im Shana Akut Bada Va'oma Amatoy Levavhem Vehem Lo Yadu Dodachai Asher Nishbati Viapi Im Yavoyum Elmanu Chasi together. Shivu Ladoinai, Shichadash, Shivu Ladoinai, Kol Haaretz, Shivu Ladoinai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom, Liyom Yeshua, Tzapru Vagoyim Kavodai, B'chol Ha'amim, Nifla Ohosov, Ki Gadol Adonai, Omohul Al Meyoid, Noi Rahu, Allah Kol Elohim, Ay Ki Kol Elohim, Ha'amim Melilim, V'Adonai Shomayim also, Hoid V'Hada, Lehefana Voices, Siferes, B'Mikdasho, Havul Adonai, Mishpachos Amim, Havul Adonai, Kavod Va'oz, Havol Adonai, Kavod Shemo, Sumincha, Uva'ul Lachatzrosav, ay, ay, Mishtakavu ladonai, Behatzdas koidesh, Chilu miponov kol haaretz, Imruv anoim Adonai molach, Atikon tevel, Baltimot, Yadinamim, Bemesharim, Yismachu Hashomayim, Besagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Omaloyoy, Yaloi Sadai, V'chol Asher Boy Yoy Yoy Yoy, Oz Yirananu Kolat Seyo Alifnei Adonai Kivo, Kivo Lishboy Ta'aretz, Yishboy Tevel Be'etzedek, Ve'amim Be'emunah Soy La 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 La. Lie, 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 deny, lie, 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 lie. Did your mind, na 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 na. Adonai malach tagel haaretz, yismachu iyim rabim, anam falafel sevivav. Sentikom ispam b'chon kisoi, eish lefanav teilech, uslahit. Soviv Sorov, hey, Ruva Kontevos Osara Takala Oretz, Adin Kanada Swana, Lifna the night, Lifna Don Kala Oretz, Ikuda Hashamain Sikoi, Ukala and Kavata Yavisha Kola Fesel Hamlis Halalim, Paelim, Nishakulo Kolim, Shamavatis Naxion, the Takanda Banas Yehuda, the man, Mishpatecha Adonai, Kiato Adonai Eliyom. Allah kol haaretz, miyot na'aleisa, al kol Elohim mohavei Adonai, sinura, shomer nafshos chasidav, miyad rishoyim yatzilem, ol zaru ala tzadik, ol yishreneim simcha, Simchachu tzadikim Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Mizmor shivul Adonai shir chadosh, ki nifla asaso, hoshir lo yominu zvakodsho, hodi Adonai Yeshua aso. Nena goin ki lo sikaso, zachar chasto ve'emunosoi, levei sisho ra'u chalatze aretz, eitz Yeshua selehin havil Adonai kol haaretz, pitzmu ranu zameru zamel Adonai bechino. Bechino v'kol zimuro, pachatzoitz rois v'kol shoyfa, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yedam hayamum lo yoy, tevel v'yoy shveivo, nahadas yimacha uchaf, yachat hadim yiraneinu, lifnei Adonai kivo, Lishboy Todet, Yishboy Tevel Betzedek, Va'amim B'meisharim. Adonai Malach Yikuzu Amim, Yoshev Kuruvim Tanu Ta'aretz, Adonai Betzion Gadol V'lamuhu, Al Kol Elo Ha'amim, Yotish B'chagodov Nana Kodeshu, Yos Melech Mishpata Hevata Kol Namta Meisharim, Mishpatos Darkov Yaakovata Osisa, Namamu Adonai Lahine Vishtachavu, Lahadon Raglov, Kodoshu, Moshe V'Yaharon, B'choi Hanav, Ushmuel, B'koilei Shamoy, Koilim El Adonai, V'hu Ya'anim, Ba'amuhudanan, Yedame Aleihem, Shamru Doisa, V'choik Nosan Lamo, Adonai Eloheinu, Ato Anisam, El Noseh Hayisalahem, Benoikeim Alaniloisam, Ramamu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu lahakodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu mizmor David. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim. Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz lai lai lai. Havu l'Adonai kavod shamo hishtakavu l'Adonai b'hatzlas kohodesh. Kohol Adonai al hamoyim el hakovot hirim Adonai al hamayim rabim kol Adonai ba'koyach lai 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 kol Adonai behoda kol Adonai shove avazim vayishabeh Adonai esasei halvanom vayavkideim kamo yegel levanoi v'siryoim kamo then re'emim lai 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 kol Adonai choitzev lahavosesh kol Adonai Yochil mihiba, Yochil Adonai mihiba hakodesh, Kol Adonai Yochel elayonois, Vayechesov Yehoros, Ovehechalo Kulome Kavod Lai 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 Adonai Lamabu Yashav Vayeshev Adonai Melech Liolam Adonai Oz Liamo Yitain Adonai Yevarech Esamo Vashalom. We now continue with Lecha Dodi. Some people have the custom of saying Ama B'Chorach, and you'll actually find it in our Siddurim. I'm not going to do it tonight. In the Chabad we do say it. In certain United synagogues it is said. It's actually a famous prayer which is recited, which is actually composed by a famous rabbi called Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Have you heard of him? Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Okay. And it has certain Kabbalistic ideas within it. It's specifically, I just want to show you this second line. Kabbarina Samcha Sagvenu Taharenu Nora, which means accept your people's prayers, strengthen us, purify us, you who are feared. And if you look at the first letters of each of those, Kuf Resh Ayin, Sin Tes Nun, it means Kara Satan, which means tearing off the Satan. So that a Kabbalistic idea there, which is quite interesting. I just thought I would point that to you. We're going to continue with Lecha Dodi, which is composed by this famous rabbi called Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, who lived at the time, about 1575. He lived at the time of where all the Kabbalists were living in those days in Safat, at the same time as the Bet Yosef, as Rabbi Yosef Cairo, Rabbi Moshe Alshich, Rabbi Chaim Vital. These are some of the famous rabbis that lived at that time. And you will find that his initials are written into this particular hymn. Shlomo Halevi, Shin Lamed. Just want to show you. Shin Lamed Mem Hey Shlomo Halevi. All written in there. It's quite interesting that his name's there. That his name there. That was actually done by many of the Kabbalists and the authors of some of our prayers, especially the Zimot, that they put their name into there, so we can actually know exactly who it was. Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, and speaks about the beauty of Shabbat. The first stanza, Shamot v'Zacho b'Dibur Echad, speaks about the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, and of course where it speaks about in the 10 Commandments, it speaks about the keeping of Shabbat, Shamot v'Zacho, keeping Shabbat, v'Zacho, remembering Shabbat. Let's sing this through. L'chadodi likras kala, Panei Shabbos nekabala, L'chadodi likras kala, penei Shabbos nekabalo. Shamot v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu elam yuchad, Adonai echad, V'shamoy echad, L'shem usifeles v'lisila. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. Likrat Shabbos lechu v'nelecha, Ki himako habalacha, Meirosh mikedem nasucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. Mihikdash melech imalucho, Kumitzayim etoicha hafecha, Rav loch sheves be'emek habacha, V'hu yachamol Allah yichem la. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. His na'ari me'afar kumi, Livshi big day sifatechami, Aliyad ben Yishai beis halachmi, Kovoi al nafshi ga'ala. L'chadodi, l'chadodi nikras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi nikras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. He is oireri, Kiva oirech, Kumi oiri, Uri, Shida beheri, Kavadadoi noyalayich niklo. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi nikras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. Gonna change tune. Lo sevo shiva lo sikami, Ma tiktochachi uma, Tehemi boho chiyechazu ani yami, Benifnasai alti lo, Lai, L'chadodi likras kalo, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kalo, Penei Shabbos nekabala. V'hayunim shisa shoisayich, V'rachatu kol mevalayich, Yosis salayich Elohayich. Kimsos choson ha'kala, Lai, L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. La, Yami musmo tifroti, Yes Adonai taritzi. Aha, yai, al yadish bem pahatzi. V'hanismecha v'nogihila, L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. L'chadodi likras kala, Penei Shabbos nekabala. The custom actually is at this point to turn towards the other side. Normally it's in the Ma'arav, in the Beit HaKnesset, it's in the west. And the reason why we do that is to physically welcome the Shabbos in, as the sages of old, in the times of the Talmud, would. It speaks about Rav Huna, who would take a whole assortment of people, go out, and they would actually physically welcome Shabbat in. That's for some, according to some actual poskim, we should actually recite it now. We should wait until actual Shabbos before we do that. Our custom has been that we recite it and we continue the prayers when Shabbat comes in with Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. But I'm going to recite it anyway. Boi v'sha aha aha la 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 boi v'shalom ateres bahala gaham besimcha uvetzohala aha ya 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 tochemu hunei amsekuhula boi chala hey lechatoy di'elik raskala Pehene Shabbos nekabala lechadoidi likras kala Pehene Shabbos nekabala. Okay, I'm going to sing something a little bit extra today. We had last week. We had the end. Let me just come off the stop share. You can all see me here. Oh, maybe it's not working. Hold on. Let me just have another go. It's not coming out of here. I wonder why that is. Let me just try it from here. Ah, that's better. Okay. Let me just go onto the gallery. I can see everybody here. Thank you. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. And because, of course, last week we had the end, the culmination of the story of Yosef. And normally, if I was davening during that time, I would particularly do a particular tune. But why was davening last week? Was I not? I was. So I forgot to do it. Here we go. This is the end of the story of Joseph. And I'm going to do Adon Olam to this beautiful tune. And it goes like this. Adon Olam. Follow me. Adon Olam. Hashem Olam. B'terem kol. Yetzu nivra. Liyes nasa. Pechet Sokol, Azai Melech, Shamot Nikra, V'yacharei Kichlos Hakol, Levado Yimloich Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hove, V'hu Yeh B'Sifara, V'hu Echad, V'yein Sheni. Lahamshiloi, lahachbira, beli reishis, beli saklis, la la la, veloi hos, vahamizra, vahu eli, vachai goali, vatzur chevli, Be'et Sarah, Behunisi Omanosli, Benoskosi, Beyom Ekra. Together, Biyahada, Avkid Ruchi, B'yesi Sham, B'yayira, B'yimruchi. Gavi Yasi Adonai V'lo yira. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Lovely. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Rabbi,
and to
Leigh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi, next time you do it properly. Wear your coat of many colours.
I've got a colourful tie.
Does that mean to have a coat of many colours, you have to have more than one wife?
Many colours.
When you had one wife.
Oh, very good. Oh, very good, Leigh.
Anyway.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Don't we usually do Yigdal?
We did.
Made a change.
Can I suggest that you do it at home? Sorry.
And can you tell me why you changed tunes halfway through L'Chol Dodi?
L'Chol Dodi.
Carmel, can you do it? I don't have time to explain to you why we do that, but I can tell you what. Ask that question that we asked the rabbi on Sunday. Yeah.